All right, we finally have an indoor garden. All right, so we have an indoor garden. Finally, after 9 months of living here in this new house, we finally have some things growing inside. So I chose to do this in the summertime. I like to get started on any indoor growing, usually early fall or late summer. That just gives everything a good time to get established, and then by the time this is good and established, our other stuff outside is starting to die off and then we can kind of move to indoor production. So all this stuff was just transplanted out from our garden outside. These are spinach that were thinned out. I just pulled a couple out of the row. This is a pepper plant that I bought and never planted, and it's been sitting outside. It's about half dead, but it should do good in here now. Some kale in the back there, and then a real nice Swiss chard that I think will do really well in here. So I wanted to start with the tallest item in the middle. These pepper plants will grow nice and big and bushy, and then some leafy greens are on the outside. So we'll see how well this does. The nice thing about growing indoors with a dirt garden versus like hydroponics or aquaponics, which I've done in the past, is I also have the ability to grow root crops in here. So let's catch you up to where we're at here. This is just a little horse trough. It was in our barn when we bought it. I just pulled this out and cleaned it up, sprayed it off with some Rust-Oleum, some spray paint, and cleaned it up a little bit and made it look a little nicer. It was just kind of rusted metal. And so this will be, it's, I don't know, about maybe 18 inches deep or so and a few feet long by maybe 2 feet wide. So it gives us a good amount of space. The soil that I put in here, I did kind of a different mix. So I started off with a lot of straw at the bottom, and that's going to give it a good drainage. There is a drainage hole underneath the bottom, right under here somewhere. And I'm going to put a little tray under there to catch water that drains through. So I wanted to keep kind of a drainage layer at the bottom. So I have that straw in there, and then I just added some compost, and I alternated. So I had some composted manure and stuff like that from our compost pile, and then I added that on top of the straw, and then I did some native soil I just dug out from behind our barn, and then I did some more compost and some more native soil and some more compost. And then at the top here, this is a mixture of manure that has been composted by worms. So it's worm castings and some manure and some straw. This was bedding from a farm. Actually, a friend of ours dropped this off when we moved in here back in about almost 9 months ago. So, and I've kept the worms alive. I just added some water to them, and they've been breaking this manure and straw and stuff down. And so there are some red wigglers in here. They'll eat dead roots and other things from the plants, and they'll keep the soil nice and aerated and healthy. So we're going to keep those red wigglers in here. In fact, I might buy another package of them from online and put a whole bunch of more worms in here. So the plan with this garden is actually to come down with like banana peels or apple peels or potato peels or scraps that aren't too wet, or wet stuff as well, and we can just move the soil aside and put them underneath and then bury them in there. The worms will come up to the surface and break those right down. There won't be any fruit fly issues or anything like that. And so we'll feed the worms that way. All right, the most important thing when we're growing indoors is the lighting. So I've got something super cool to show you guys. Now remember my old LED lights. This one's half broken. But remember those LED strip lights I made? Those worked all right. They did the job for starting seeds and things like that. I got to fix this one if I want to use it again, but I've got something much, much, much better to show you guys today. All right, I am not one to do unboxing videos. In fact, I don't think I've ever really done an unboxing video. However, I would like to talk a little bit about this as we get it set up here. So, a company called Unit Farm offered to send me an LED light, and I've been wanting to get a nice LED grow light set up down here for seed starting and for everything for such a long time. And I definitely looked into this company, and they have some really good products. So looks like I got a little banner to put up down here too. Cool. So I was looking for just a small scale LED light to get started down here. I don't like, I've experimented with a lot of LEDs, strip lighting and other stuff, and there is a huge difference in quality when it comes to LED grow lights. There's a lot of cheap lights out there that they use really cheap LED chips in, and they don't last. They don't have the same efficiency, and that's one of the biggest things. So this is, again, a company called Unit Farm. I'm going to link to their website, unitfarm.com, in the description. And they have a whole bunch of other products, from small to large LED grow lights, as well as like grow tents and all kinds of other stuff. And that'd be something nice to get down here someday too. But these are all Cree or OSRAM LEDs. And if you know anything about LEDs, generally Cree, I know Cree, especially for me, is usually what I look for in LED chips. OSRAM are really good LED chips as well. So these aren't the cheap, knockoff LEDs that you're going to get. But this is so cool. I've always tried to mimic this on my grow lights that I've built by having vegetative growth, which is closer to your bluer lights, like your 6500 Kelvin lighting and that. And then you also have a flowering stage that you can turn on. So, if we're just doing vegetative growth, like our leafy greens and stuff like that, and maybe I just want to get my bell pepper growing, without really trying to entice it to flower, I can just flip on the vegetative growth. It's going to be a nice blue or really white light, closer to that 6500 Kelvin spectrum, and we'll get that vegetative growth. When I want plants to flower, or I want a full spectrum light for my plants, I'll add in the flowering light, and that adds in that orange or red hue spectrum light that will also, it actually encourages plants to start to flower. Man, that's a nice looking light. So LED lighting is by far the most efficient, right? So out of all the sodium and CFLs and the T5s and all that stuff that you're going to get out there, you get the most bang for your buck. So for each watt of energy you use, you're going to get the most lumens, or the most lux. Lux is the measurement of how much light per certain area that you get. LEDs has the highest, especially with high quality LEDs. So there's a big difference in the whole LED world between cheap LEDs that are not efficient, they produce more heat than light, and very efficient, good quality LEDs like the Cree or OSRAM ones. So very important with LEDs. So although there's a higher upfront cost with LED lights, you cannot beat it and especially if you're going to run this thing 12, 14 hours a day, you want it to be efficient. Alright, so there's our vegetative growth setting, and you can see we've got some of the white and blue LEDs lit there. So that'll give us our blue and our pure kind of white light vegetative growth. And man, is that thing bright. So it's 175 watt power consumption is what it is. That's probably with both vegetative and flowering lights turned on. Let's try out the flowering stage. So when you do the flowering stage, you run both vegetative and flowering lights. This should be red. So now we've got some red lights lit there. Now you'll notice more red lights than blue and white lights, and that's generally because the red lights are a little it's not as powerful, so they have more LEDs to give the same amount of power. But man, what an awesome light. I cannot wait to get more of these things. I could probably run 3 of these down here and double my space easy. So let's see what the wattage draw is on this. Okay, so I'm running my I've got the kilowatt set up here, hooked up to just this light, and it's pulling 183-ish watts here. So actually a little bit above the listed wattage. The tag does say 175 there, plus or minus 5%, so it's still within range for sure. This little light, this LED light, is more powerful than my CFL lights that I had, and I'll link to that video. I built some CFL lights. I was running 8 CFL bulbs, and it was pulling, 200 watts for that, and it was less. It produced about half as much light as this. Get a look at the plants there underneath the light, and some of them are starting to weep a little bit because they're transplants. So it'll take about a week for them to really gain root here. So look at the footprint of this. It's so much smaller too, which was nice. I mean, this is like a 12-inch by 12-inch light compared to my big LED lights here. you know, my strip lights. The hoods are huge, and let me just show you as far as the watt comparison to these LED strip lights, which I have, gosh, I don't remember how many meters of lights. I think this is 30 meters of LED strip in each one of these. This one might even have more than that in it. Alright, so I'm using an app here called RGB Light Sensor, and as far as I know, it's only available on Android, and it works I'm not going to say how accurate it is, but I will say that it gives a pretty good general idea of power of lights. I'm not sure why my actual graph isn't working here. It used to, but I have a feeling with one of the latest operating system updates, it's not reading that sensor anymore. So all we have is a lux power reading here. So I'm going to put this in about 12 inches from the light here, so it's a pretty rough estimate. It looks like about 155,000 lux. That's pretty powerful compared to these other lights. If I move it down to the level of my plants here, it looks like I have about 47,000 lux when I'm down to my pepper plant here. Let's turn on our LED strip lights and see if we can get a general idea of what kind of power those have. And remember, just one of these lights is about half the wattage consumption, and we're only getting about 4,000 lux from that compared to 50 or 150,000. Well, I think that this is going to work out pretty darn good for a little indoor garden. I think the supplemental light on the sides will be perfect, and I am so geeked to see the results of this new LED light. I've been wanting one of these things forever, so I would really encourage you guys to check out Unit Farm. They've got a whole bunch of other options with LED lights. This is one of the smaller ones. They've got larger ones, all different price ranges, but I think it's, from what I've seen, this is the lowest price that you can get for a quality LED light with good Cree, bulbs or Osram bulbs. So pay attention to that. Don't get junky LEDs. Well, I just want to thank the folks over at Unit Farm for sending us the light to review and check out. Obviously, I will give you guys an update once I've had a good chance to grow underneath it. We're going to talk a lot more about this garden and the fertilizer that it produces with the composting worms and everything that we have going on here. So there'll be some other separate videos coming out about this. But I really want to focus on that light because I'm super happy to have that thing here. So again, check out their website, www.unitfarm.com. They've got all kinds of cool products over there to check out. And if you guys want to follow along with the progress of the indoor garden here, this will be something we'll be running year round. And all kinds of different things will be growing in here and trying different things. I've even thought about doing some vining stuff in here and using some of our other LED lights to follow it around and all kinds of neat stuff. So we'll see what we can get away with growing under our homemade LED grow lights, and then obviously our new Unit Farm light here. So pretty cool stuff. So if you guys have questions, throw it down below, comments. If you guys grow indoors, I'd love to hear about your experience. If you guys are interested in more of that stuff, as I said before, check out our aquaponics series where we did a whole indoor growing system, big system that we did aquaponics for years. I learned a whole lot with that system. It was a lot of fun. And so I think I'm going to stick indoors here with a soil system, or possibly a hydroponic system. I still have some plans to build something like that maybe in the winter. So we'd love to have you guys follow along. Hit that subscribe button. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.